Give it a cold start. We're gonna see how fast it is before it leaks. It's just been sitting up here leaking right there. Let's see what we got. Cold start. Move it before it starts leaking bad. I'm gonna remove the wheel because I want to get closest possible view for filming purposes. Raise the hood so I can get all the light in possible that I can get, so we can see everything. All right, let's put the jack stand under here somewhere. We're jacked up now. I'll place the jack under here just for added security because I got the plow on here, but I got 12-ton jack stand under here, which is more than enough to hold us in place. And I'm jacked up like right here, perfect along the axle, but I'll get it under here just for, you never know. I'll put it towards the plow because I do got the plow lift up some, and it's not 12 tons though, I'll tell you that much. So a couple things we want to do. Just because I've owned multiple of these trucks, I know exactly what's wrong. The oil cooler is bad. Sometimes you can get away with, and I've gotten away with quite a few times, tighten the filter down a lot. I've tightened that filter down so much, I actually bent one of my filter wrenches, tightened it down to prevent the leak, or to stop the leak, to buy me some time. But it's still seeped along that edge. Although I've cleaned the bottom part of that cooler where the filter seat's at, I cleaned it really good with some 320 grit sandpaper, just some fine sandpaper, and it helped a tiny bit, but that cooler needs to be replaced. So a couple things we're gonna do. We want access right in front of here. We're gonna pinch the lines off right here with some clamps. But the very first thing we want to do to give us some time, because we don't want to drain all the coolant out, we just want to pinch the lines off right there. We'll smash them in with some clamps. We'll pinch them right there. But the very first thing we want to do, got the oil pan here. Since I know I probably have smashed that gasket or that rubber seal around that filter, I'm going to replace it anyway. I'll probably smash that seal flat, so I'm going to replace it. We're going to puncture the bottom of that filter and let it drain out because we don't want to mess. We don't oil just pouring all out right now. We're just going to puncture, we'll use the Phillips screwdriver and a hammer and puncture a hole in the bottom of that filter carefully and allow it to drain out. All that fresh oil. Just change the oil on this thing. So we're gonna allow that to drain completely out. Stop dripping everything. We want that to be dry. So I'll be back in a second. Then we're gonna remove the oil filter. Also want to mention, it'll help the flow if you remove the oil fill cap. All right, guys, we drained all out. Still dripping a little bit. That's fine. At least we don't have to worry about it running over when we remove the filter itself. Let's get a filter wrench out here. One of the better filter wrenches to use on these trucks are these style filter wrenches. I probably got all the size, all filter wrenches, but these works best for me. Especially since I have this one screwed on so tight, I'm gonna need all the leverage I can get. so I don't have to worry about impelling a screwdriver in it to give me some leverage to pull it off. But I got it on there really tight, so I'll have to use one of these to get it off. So I'll keep it zoomed out maybe so you guys can get a better view on where I'm placing the filter wrench. Okay, they're still dripping a little bit. We're gonna allow that to drip, so you know what we can do? Let's pinch off these hoses. Multiple clamps you can use. Something with a lot of tension. Just a large clamp. A lot of tension on this clamp. Or you can smash it in really good with some of these. Alright, so we smashed them off right there. Just use these clamps. Still gonna get a little leaky, but it won't be as bad. Okay guys, here we go. Got light under here in multiple directions. Those clamps are gonna have to be replaced, but we're gonna remove it. We're not gonna touch those clamps until we remove the cooler itself. 14mm Allen key or hex. You guys can see in there. So let me get that. Oh man, I'm leaking oil everywhere still. And then we'll pull it down. You know, if you're new to doing this, you can mark the holes, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Get a mark here to show you that it's the bottom holes, so you don't get them confused. Don't think it matters. But maybe the length. I think the length of these holes is a little different, just a little bit. So I'm gonna get something to mark here to show that this is the bottom holes. I'm gonna do that just for video purposes. All right, guys. So it's time for us to remove it. We're done leaking oil. 14mm big drive, long extension, 14mm Allen key or hex key, and we're gonna get up in there. So let me get some light up there and mount the camera. Okay, I got a couple mallets there. Just try to tap it loose so we can get the hoses off. Use your Sharpie or marker if you're not familiar with this. And this is for video purposes. Just make a line or something to let you know this is your bottom hose, like so. Let's tap this thing off here. Put the camera in a good angle so you guys can see. Now that we got it off, as you can see, I pulled it forward some, and we're gonna get those clamps off. In my case, I got this really nice hose clamp. That's the model number. Removal tool, had it for a long time. I don't know if they still sell this particular one, but I'm quite sure they got one better. Boards and channel locks. And those clamps are messed up, and we're gonna have to rotate those hoses. So let me get the camera in here real good. You guys can see how I'm doing this. Just get the best angle possible. I may can get the hose clamp tool on here from here. You guys can see that clamp broke already on me. So if you rotate it a little, you can get the clamp from this side easily. And now let's twist the hoses off. We're gonna leak some, as you can see we're leaking now. We got it pinched off, but we're gonna leak. And let's put some new clamps on here as well. Mount the camera. Although I've got the line smashed off really good twice, we're still losing coolant. It's okay. I'm gonna just add some more coolant. So let me remove the other hose. Okay guys, if you want to catch some of that coolant, I mean, you can put a pan on here to catch the coolant. In my case, this coolant been here probably since the truck was made, and just doing a little coolant first. I'm probably gonna lose about a gallon of coolant, which is fine. I'll replace it, but just clean around the filter housing where the coolant mounts. Wiped it off real good. Now, since we got the lines pinched off and using it as a tourniquet to slow the coolant loss down, because we would have lost everything had we not did that. We're gonna put new clamps on here really quick and put the cooler on. Let me show you guys the cooler. So here's the cooler, guys, and it seats up like so, with the lines that face towards the back, like this, face towards the front of the engine. One thing I want to note about this: make sure that this rubber is seated correctly within those slots, because sometimes that O-ring pops out and you will have a leak. So I'm just going to use some screw clamps. I don't have any pressure clamps, and I just used a couple of these. And once we get it back up there, we'll be okay. We'll stop leaking fluid. Here's the hex nut. I'm gonna put some thread locker on here. However, I don't see, and I have all the specs for this vehicle, I don't see any specs for this special bolt. I don't. And I do see 25 foot-pounds circling around in different areas in the oil cooler, the other mount, if it wasn't a remote oil filter. So let's get this up here and stop the bleeding in these clamps on our twin. Now make sure this is clean. You can wipe a little oil around this O-ring. Make sure no debris has gotten on this O-ring. And make sure your surface is clear. I think we can mount up now using this. Well, still got it somewhat hand tightened as best I can get it. We're gonna tighten it down as if we're tightening an oil filter. We do have that thread lock on this, so we're gonna let it sit up for a while before we put the screw filter on here. Also, the hoses kind of dictate the angle of this, so you don't have to worry about a position. The hose is gonna dictate exactly where it seats. So I just want to note that. So let me get the hex bit back up here, and let's screw this up here firmly. Like I said, there's no torque specs, and I can see probably why, because there is an O-ring involved. It's not metal to metal. There's an O-ring involved, and you definitely don't want to split that O-ring. So let's get it up here. I think the thread locker is the most important element, or most important vital step to installing this, because you are going to be constantly removing and installing oil filters throughout the life of the vehicle, and you don't want this to come loose when you're loosening the oil filter. So the thread locker is vital to this specific or particular situation. Let me mount the camera and tighten this down, and then we're going to wait for a while. I got it firm. I got it really firm. I got some grit on this. Super tight, guys. I got it tight. So that's going to get it. I'm not going any farther. I don't want to split that O-ring. I got it tight. I used some force. I'm going to wait for an hour so that thread locker can set up. Let me show you guys exactly what kind I'm using. And then we're going to install the filter and finish this job off. Add some coolant. Guys, before I remove that socket, notice I got a big drive extension on it, because look at it, it sits on an angle, and if you got four-wheel drive, or that cross member pipe may be in your way, not so much the four-wheel drive, not the transfer case, but it'll be on an angle to get the hex key or the Allen key or Allen bit inside of that filter. So I recommend using the swivel, because it prevents you from possibly cross threading, because you're forcing it up on an angle. That special bolt, you guys can see we're seated in here perfectly. So I want to note that. Also, another thing I want to note, let me remove this and show you guys. Make sure the hex bit you're using, or Allen bit you're using, has length. This barely makes the cut. This is barely seating in there. May got maybe an 1/8 of an inch, possibly, for that room with this one. You want to have a long enough hex bit to fit in that special bolt. Otherwise, it will not work. Because if we look at it, it's down in there pretty far. It's not directly where the thread started. It's down in there, so make sure you have a long enough hex bit or Allen bit. And most importantly to me with this is thread locker. Use the orange stuff. Look at it. It's high strength, but look behind high strength. It's removable. The adjective, removable. That's very important. You don't want to use high strength that's not removable. But you want the high strength. You want it to be removable in the event this oil cooler has to be replaced again. So, couple key and vital steps that you need to know, or that I want to know. So we'll let that seat up for about an hour or so. Stuff dries pretty quick, and we'll add the new filter. When this cooler was on the vehicle and I clamped this really good, I just couldn't see why it was leaking. Now I see why. This is the side it seems to seep from and run down. And look here. Let's just pit it and kind of rust it through. These are grooves. So no matter how much I cleaned them, that O-ring wasn't going to seep properly to stop oil from seeping along these crevices or those pits. See, so that's the culprit. That's the culprit. Some are larger than others, but that's the culprit. That's why this is leaking. Couldn't see it at first because I shined all this up really good. This is what's happening. Okay, now let's remove our clamps. It's been pinched off. And we'll clean the surface and install our oil filter. I'll apply a little oil along the O-ring of this filter just to kind of give it some lubrication so I can twist it on that pretty good, get a nice hand tight on it now. I should have to worry about using the filter wrench to tighten it. So let's remove those clamps right now. It was holding some fluid in because I can hear it gurgling when I release the clamps as the fluid or coolant flowed towards the oil cooler. So let's install the oil filter now. The filter I'm using is just a regular perlator. This is the number for it. The filter that was on the vehicle was an STP, and the number for it was S2. But there's a variety of filters you can choose from. I don't got much oil in here, but I might as well just help fill it up some. Alright, let's clean the surface and install this filter. Alright, everything looks good. Seating it now. Hoses look fine. Alright, let's top it off with some oil, most importantly, then we can add coolant last. I'll be topping it off with this. This is well enough. This is just a gallon I'm probably about a quart loaf, so I use about a quarter of this. Okay, should be topped off now. Let's start the engine and add some coolant. This is the coolant we're using. This is what was in here, the conventional green. First, let's start the vehicle right now. Cold start. Take you guys with me through the whole process. All right, I'm gonna check for leaks. Let's go. Add some coolant right now. Nice cold line. Add a little more. Check for leaks. All in one motion. Let's check for leaks. Make sure we don't leak fluid. Just spin there. No leaks. Just fill up some more coolant. Guys, look at the fire. I'm gonna let it run for a while. This thing runs amazing. Truck runs amazing. A little exhaust leak, but all right, success. Okay, I'm gonna install the wheel. I need to film that, but it's a wrap for this video. Looking inside, we still be kind of cold, should be. There's no lights on this thing. It only has 130 miles on this, 130,000 miles on this truck. I'm over here, I need to get some gas. Yeah, we're still sitting cold, sitting perfectly idle. Thing runs amazing. Both of them does. They run. I got them running tip-top shape. I know these Fords pretty well. Alright, it's a wrap for this video. Another flawless install for the channel. I hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching. Terrence and I'm out. Oh, I want to know, I just added, there's a video for rotors and brake pads, how to quickly do them. These rotors become seized, especially since it's the plow truck. These rotors were seized on here, but I got them off super fast. And there's a video on the channel for that, and a lot of more things with this, or the F250, F350, pretty much the same. This is just two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive. So I got videos on both. But yeah, just uploaded a video on that, just in case you're interested.